in the workbook for students. I just want to have you tune in to yesterday's program here. Yesterday, I had a very special guest. Marbeth Dunn joined me right here on the live stream to talk about her many years of experience with the Course in Miracles and how it has had a tremendous and long standing and far-reaching impact on her own life. This is yesterday's live stream, which we actually did at a different time. You'll notice that the times bounce around a little bit here. This is a daily live stream, and yesterday is a very, very special show. So please, I want to invite you to tune in to yesterday's live stream here on Enlightened World Network with my special guest, Marbeth Dunn. Now, I've shared this to my personal Facebook page, to my Facebook group, Change Without Limits, and also, in case you have not seen this, Enlightened World Network has its very own YouTube channel, and each show on the network has its own playlist, which is searchable. So this is where you can find all back episodes, all of them, of this live stream. They're archived in there every day. So that's the YouTube channel for Enlightened World Network. Marbeth and I had a great time together. She is a wonderful woman and really just loving, tremendous energy. So this is a great conversation. You won't want to miss it. All right. I will be welcoming other guests here. I will have a very special guest in a couple of weeks. My wife, Cindy, will come back again because we've been talking about this. I know she's watching. You're coming back on as a guest. Okay. So what I want to do with guest appearances on here is to show different perspectives. It's really, really important that we see how, with any spiritual path, how it has impacted different people and what someone has to say about their own journey and their own story may resonate with you on a very deep level. And I won't know that unless they come on and share their experience with you and you tune in. So it's to broaden the exposure. The course is universal. It's designed for anyone. And the course even specifically says it does not make any difference whatsoever what your religious background is, what your spiritual background is, what you're currently interested in as far as spiritual practice. This is applicable to any situation. Any situation. This is universal spirituality. And in fact, this is something that you could tune into whether you have heard of A Course in Miracles or not, whether you own the actual book of the components of A Course in Miracles or not, doesn't make any difference if you don't. All of these lessons apply, and you will, if you tune in, find something that is of value to you. How do I know you will? Well, you're watching this, you're curious about Enlightened World Network. There are millions of other pages on the World Wide Web, and here you are, which tells me a lot of things. Tells me you're ready for today's idea, which is lesson 41 in the workbook for students. So whether you are following along in the workbook or whether you're in a different place, whether this is something that you have done in the past or might do in the future, this is directly applicable. Again, we're talking universal spirituality. Spirituality actually is universal. So if you have had the experience in this lifetime, in your current life, of wondering why certain churches, certain religious sects, religious groups claim to own the truth and that their version is the only version of the truth. In other words, you have to go to our particular building between 11 and 12 a.m. every Sunday, and sometimes on Wednesday, sometimes more often than that, but you can't go to the other person's building across the street. If you've ever felt that that can't be right and it doesn't resonate with you, good, good, right? The truth simply is. Truth simply is, and no one owns it. Isn't that wonderful? That should be very liberating to all of us when it really sinks in that nobody owns reality. It's not property. It's not something like a cell phone that goes with you wherever you go. You pick it up. It's a piece. It's a piece of property that you own, that you possess. It's not like that. It's not like that. It's completely intangible. And in fact, it's actually beyond all of our human labels, including language. These are just words that we use. Truth, it's a word that we use. Human being, that's a term that we made up. Yeah. Everything is just a symbol in language for the thing that it actually represents. And that includes spirit. Even the word God is a word. God simply is, simply is. And the word, it's God is just, it's a word that we use to refer to this experience, right? To refer to ultimate truth, to reality. Okay, so it's called different things in different parts of the world, in different religious traditions, in different cultures throughout history. God has been called this loving, knowing force, the ground of all being, has been called by many, many, many different names. So whatever the name, let's just be really clear that that's what we're talking about. This should be deeply comforting. Lesson 41, God goes with me wherever I go. Literally. A Course in Miracles, one of the things that I've really, really enjoyed about A Course is its, in words, of course, because this is what we're using. We're using the medium of language to communicate with one another. And one of the things that I love about A Course and some related commentary books that I've read that are based on A Course in Miracles is the presentation of absolute truth in just two words. God is, period. God is. What that implies is that nothing else is. And nothing that is real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Therein lies the peace of God. This is from the introduction to A Course in Miracles, right at the beginning of the text. This is it. Just reality. That goes with you everywhere you go, doesn't it? If it's the only thing that is, it goes with you wherever you go. Even if you're having a bad day, even if you've just been in an argument, even if you're concerned about a situation in your life, perhaps it's an illness, perhaps it's an illness of a friend or a family member, perhaps it's a financial consideration, a business consideration, perhaps you're concerned about your physical health. Whatever it is, God goes with you everywhere you go. Whether we choose to acknowledge this or not, still doesn't make it untrue. Does not make it untrue. So what we're doing in the world is we're running around feeling cut off, feeling separate. And we've looked in the workbook exercises at the fact that we've created this separation ourselves. So with the power to create it, we can unmake it. And we've chosen to run around as seemingly, supposedly separate entities. We can undo that sense just as easily. But the reality is when we see ourselves as cut off, when we see ourselves identifying as separate, in other words, with the ego, with fear, we have the experience of suffering, don't we? Everything seems to be opposed to us. People seem to be opposed to us. The world seems to be opposed to us. A certain political party seems to hate us, right? Our neighbor may appear to hate us or treat us with disdain. People driving down the freeway may appear to hate you as they cut you off in traffic and fail to use their turn signals and nearly cause accidents, things like that. But we're all appearing in opposition to each other, but that's not, in truth, the way it is. It's not reality. So an idea like today's, if practiced as suggested, which we'll talk about, goes a long, long way toward helping to alleviate this sense of the inevitability of suffering. We're often taught, I was taught as a kid, that the world just sucks. In fact, my dad used very, very different language. You can just about imagine it's language that I choose not to repeat here on this broadcast. So you can fill in those words on your own, right? The world is a bucket of. Yeah, that's a direct quote from him. And this is a common attitude, isn't it? It's a common attitude that we're born into this suffering and there's nothing that we can do about it. So we've got to make it the best we can. We've got to make a bunch of money, right? We've got to have a nice car. We've got to have a fancy trophy spouse, and we have to be Instagram pretty in today's day and age, things like that. We've got to curate everything to solve all our problems because we're stuck here. That's the collective mentality, and it's insane, isn't it? When you think about it, just not true. If you thought it was true, you wouldn't be watching this. You would not be attracted to A Course in Miracles in the first place. And I would willingly submit that you wouldn't be really attracted to spirituality in the first place either. Eventually we all hear the call because we cannot escape our true nature, no matter how much we choose to hide, no matter how much or how many lifetimes we choose to procrastinate and put off this release of what no longer serves us. This is really all it is. It's choosing right now in the present moment to release that which no longer serves you. Fear, identification with the ego. So all of these supposed cures in the world, like making more money, like having a trophy spouse, a trophy partner, having a better job, a fancier car, all of that doesn't fix our central issue of separation. Why? We can't fix it externally. It doesn't make any difference whether you drive a Bentley to work or whether you ride your bike. Seriously. Doesn't matter. I mean, one might be more comfortable than another. Then again, the other might have you in better shape than the other, right? It doesn't matter. You cannot, none of us can find true lasting peace and happiness in external objects. Why? We may get the external object. Boom, we discover sooner or later that we are still dissatisfied. We haven't been looking in the right place for peace and happiness. It's internal. It's internal, and we're very, very programmed, aren't we, to avoid that. We're very programmed to avoid that. That's why we appear to be going around and around in what can seem to be a never-ending cycle of hardship, of pain, of suffering, grief and loss, all of that. So today's idea, I hope, really uplifts you. It's an uplifting idea that God goes with me wherever I go. The peace of God goes with me wherever I go. Knowledge, the knowledge of God, the joy, the happiness, the limitlessness goes with you wherever you go. Spirituality is about identifying with this. So, in the practice period, one quick note is I want to relate, as I often do on this live stream, the practice periods in the workbook for students to meditation practice, or if you prefer, to yoga practice or prayer. Maybe you have a devotional in your spiritual tradition, some type of exercise or practice that you do on a regular basis, maybe a daily basis, maybe more often than that, maybe less often. Whatever that is, right? I want to relate the workbook for students in A Course in Miracles to that because it really is a meditation. Now, today's lesson's all about that because we're aiming to go a little bit deeper. We're aiming to get past the clouds that obscure the nature of who we really are. Now, the workbook uses the visual of dark clouds, which I think is appropriate, right? People tend to think of it as peeling layers of an onion off or removing a veil, lifting a lid, turning on a light in a dark room to shine the light on what was previously unseen because it was dark. Now, all of those visuals will work. It's about going beneath all the layers and cutting through our drama, honestly, cutting through our drama and all of the stuff that we interpose between ourselves, who we really are, and the rest of the world. We're just going through there. It's about reaching a space where you're more quiet in the mind. Now, how would that benefit you? Well, number one, there are many, many physical benefits of meditation or a mindfulness practice, if you prefer to talk about it that way. Either way, there are many, many physical benefits, and I'm not particularly a science guy, so I'm not going to list those here, but you can look all of those up. In my own life, I've found that it is highly beneficial to be more chill. It is. It's highly beneficial to be more chill. It's highly beneficial to be calm, composed. And that comes from this practice, So that's what we're aiming to do here with a practice period. This one just says 3 to 5 minutes. You may choose to meditate for less time than that. It's certainly possible, or longer. That's certainly possible too. But it's about reaching a quiet place in our mind where there's less of the chatter, where there's less of that voice in our ear that we constantly follow. That when we think about it, it's placing ourselves more in line to allow truth to simply be. There's quite an element of getting out of our own way and allowing love, allowing truth simply to be as it is, what it is, right now in the present moment. That is what we're doing. Even if you find these meditations or practice periods difficult, the fact that you're doing them will help. It helps tremendously. In spirituality, luckily and happily for us, right, everything adds up. And every bit of intention and practice has value. So I hope that as you practice today's idea, God goes with me wherever I go, that you begin one way or another to take this to heart in your own life. So let's see who's joining us here on the live stream today. And if you're catching the replay, definitely please check out yesterday's program with my special guest, Marbeth Dunn. It was a tremendous conversation, really wonderful. She's a very loving woman and a lot of fun, lots and lots of experience here with the course And a reminder again, if you are looking for a place to find all of the past episodes of this Enlightened World Network's YouTube channel is a very good place to be. So hello, Deirdre and Cindy, hello. Yes, Cindy writes, it's created huge shifts in my life, talking about the course here. Spiritual practice, relationships, business, community. Yeah, there's no aspect of life that spirituality doesn't touch. It is life itself. God, in fact, if you want to think of God as life itself, perfect. Yeah, creator of all life. And we're one with that. So there's no aspect of life, career, relationships, physical health, right? There's no aspect that spirituality doesn't touch. It informs everything, literally everything. Now people put it in a category and they put it aside and try to neglect it, but it actually informs everything, which is beautiful. It's a wonderful thing. And Carol, hello, and Hope, hi, how are you all? Thank you for joining me. Yes, and so wherever you're joining us from, catch yesterday's program with Marbeth Dunn. She is really wonderful, and I'm going to have Marbeth come back on the show. I'm going to have Cindy come back on the show, and periodically I want to offer some guest appearances to you so you can hear from other people how this really wonderful thought system, and the course is a thought system, has impacted their lives. And it's universal spirituality. So again, if you're just joining me for the first time, this is a daily live stream. We're going through the workbook for students of A Course in Miracles, but it is not necessary that you are on the same workbook lesson as we're on. I mean, we covered lesson 41 today. It's not necessary that you're even participating in A Course in Miracles in your life at all. You can simply tune in and get tremendous benefit from these lessons because they apply no matter what your spiritual practice looks like. So I do want to encourage you. I thank you for tuning in, and I want to encourage you to tune in every day. So catch the time. The show time varies every day. So what I would recommend as a matter of housekeeping here is to check Enlightened World Network's Facebook page, like the page, and check the Facebook page because the show guide for every day lists the times. It lists the times of all the shows. That's where you can find where this show will be every day. And I thank you very much for tuning in today and every day. Be sure you catch Marbeth Dunn from yesterday, and I'll see you